40 minutes ago, Democratic Congressman Dan Goldman, one of the sharpest questioners on Epstein matters, did something explosive during Attorney General Pam Bondi's testimony. He caught her live on camera, dodging questions about redactions that protect powerful figures, including mentions of Donald Trump, while survivors' information was left exposed. He brought out an unredacted email from Jeffrey Epstein to Ghislaine Maxwell, referencing Trump's past relationship with Epstein, demanded it be fully public to reveal the truth, and exposed how the DOJ ignored survivors who offered testimony. Bondi didn't commit. She attacked him, called his questions flawed lawyering, yelled quiet, accused him of past failures. If you think you know where this goes, you don't. What happened in the next 7 minutes will change how you see this investigation. Subscribe right now and hit the bell. What I am walking you through is not just one dodged question. It is a pattern, a system, and a lawmaker who refused to stay quiet when the Attorney General buried evidence to shield the powerful. I've watched congressional hearings for years. I've seen witnesses dodge. I've seen politicians protect their own. But I have never seen a Democratic congressman confront a Republican Attorney General with direct evidence from Epstein's own communications about Trump and demand full transparency. And mean it. That happened on the 11th of February, 2006, House Judiciary Committee oversight hearing. The room was packed. Survivors of Jeffrey Epstein's abuse sitting in the gallery, watching cameras at every angle. And Dan Goldman, former prosecutor from New York, waiting for his turn to ask questions. He wasn't there to grandstand. He was there because he had spent hours the day before in a secure room at the Department of Justice reviewing unredacted Epstein files. The files Congress ordered released under the Epstein Files Transparency Act. The files Bondi's department released with massive redactions that didn't add up. Half the documents withheld. Key memos and indictments redacted even from Congress. And Goldman had found something explosive. I'll bet you think you know how this ends. Most assume the AG deflects with privilege claims and nothing changes. Keep that prediction, because what Goldman did and what Bondi refused will prove you wrong. Picture this, mid-morning Rayburn House office building. The hearing's been running hot. Democrats hammered Bondi on redactions and victim exposure. Then Dan Goldman's turn came. He didn't start with broad accusations. He started narrow, evidence-based, about specific documents he reviewed unredacted. Attorney General Bondi, Goldman began, his voice steady and prosecutorial. The tone of a man who knows the law inside out and doesn't need to shout because the documents speak for themselves. I reviewed unredacted materials at the department yesterday for a couple of hours. Why are almost half the documents still withheld against the law Congress passed? I didn't see this so-called client list you claimed existed a year ago. He held up references to an 86-page prosecution memo from the Southern District of New York and a draft indictment from Florida against Epstein's co-conspirators, redacted even for members of Congress. Will you commit to providing them unredacted to us? Bondi tried to brush it off. It's not complicated, Congressman, though maybe for you with your law degree. They're privileged. Goldman didn't let it slide. They're not privileged. And then he dropped the bomb. This is an email from Jeffrey Epstein to Ghislaine Maxwell. It includes notes of statements Donald Trump made about his prior relationship with Epstein. There's no attorney-client privilege here. It's from Epstein to Maxwell, not to a lawyer. No reason to hide it. Will you commit to publicly releasing the unredacted version so the American people can see Trump's own words and the lies he's told? The room tensed. Bondi glanced at her staff, checking notes. She deflected hard. You were an impeachment manager. Did you apologize in 2019? Privileged. Privileged. Quiet. Goldman pressed, will you unredact this? Will you unredact that? Bondi interrupted, yelling, quiet! The chairman had to intervene on the clock. Goldman accused her outright. These redactions are improper to protect Trump and other predators associated with Epstein, while you failed to redact victim information. Here's an email titled Epstein Victim List. 32 survivors. 1 redacted, 31 exposed. Intentional intimidation, not a mistake. You exceeded the deadline by months. Then the climax. Goldman turned to the survivors in the room, the brave people sitting behind us. By show of hands, how many of you have met with the Department of Justice and provided testimony or evidence? None raised their hands. How many reached out to offer testimony or evidence? All raised their hands. How many were denied or ignored? All. How many are still willing to speak despite this intimidation? All raised their hands again. Stop right here. If you've watched this far and you're starting to understand what just happened, the DOJ ignoring survivors while protecting the powerful, like this video right now. Seriously, the algorithm decides who sees this, and this story needs to reach people. Write what you're thinking in the comments, and let's keep going, because what happened next is when Bondi realized she was cornered. Bondi asked for a moment, then pivoted wildly, showing photos of convicted immigrants from Afghanistan, El Salvador, Mexico, assault, rape, homicide, claiming Goldman doesn't care about his constituents or crimes by illegal aliens. 70% of detained immigrants have no criminal conviction, she said. Goldman interrupted. My time, Mr. Chairman. This is deflection. The exchange erupted. Not just words, but interruptions, clock stops, chairman rulings. This wasn't theater anymore. This was exposure. Bondi had no good answer on the email or survivors. Instead of committing to unredact, she attacked Goldman's past and shifted topics. The refusal to commit is the answer. Here is what you need to understand. This isn't random. An email tying Trump directly to Epstein hidden under privilege. Victims exposed to intimidate. Survivors ignored when they offered help. When confronted with evidence and hands raised in unity, Bondi deflected to immigration, proving it was never about transparency. It was protection. Goldman forced her to show it without backing down. The hearing continued. More questions, dodges. But Goldman's 7 minutes mattered most. A Democrat holding a Republican AG accountable with undeniable evidence, impossible to dismiss as partisan. Within an hour, the clip was everywhere. Survivors' hands raised, Bondi yelling, "Quiet!" The explosive fight over Trump's mentions. Share this video right now. What Goldman did, forcing truth from power, is what accountability looks like. Now let me tell you what happens next, because this story is not over. Lawmakers threatening contempt if more files stay hidden. DOJ released only part, millions of pages missing. If they're willing to redact Trump's mentions while exposing victims, what else is buried? Survivors demanding answers. Bondi's deflections made it worse. You can't yell at a congressman and ignore raised hands and expect it to vanish. Subscribe to this channel right now and hit that bell icon. I will cover every development, the next hearings, missing pages, when Goldman or others get another shot. This is not the end. This is just the beginning of something much bigger. 7 minutes. That's how long it took Goldman to expose the redactions protecting the powerful and the neglect of survivors. To prove the handling was a choice. And when survivors raise hands showing they were ignored, privileged isn't an answer. It's a shield. Dan Goldman walked in with evidence, asked precise questions, pressed through interruptions until Bondi had nothing left but attacks and deflections. That is accountability. The clip is spreading. Survivors are watching. Somewhere in Washington, Pam Bondi is explaining why she couldn't face the truth. Subscribe, hit the bell, share this video, and check the related clips on your screen right now.